Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, with our main topic today. In this episode of Cairo of the Breakfast Show, we are discussing the meetings of the Egyptian-Libyan Joint Higher Committee, which was held recently in Cairo during a two-days visit. To shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have with us this morning in the Breakfast Show Dr. Ibrahim Ghazawy, Professor of International Relations. Good morning, Dr. Ghazawy.
Good morning.
Well, Dr. Ghazawy, now the Libyan Premier Abdulhamid Dbeibah and the senior ministers have paid a two-day visit to Egypt and held a series of meetings as part of the Egyptian-Libyan Joint Higher Committee's 11th sitting. So how do you see the importance of this and also the agenda that they discussed during the two-day meeting?
Well, this visit comes at a very critical time and phase in the recent history of Libya. And here comes the importance and the significance of that visit for two reasons indeed. The first one is concerning the future of the Libyan state today and a lot of challenges facing our brothers in Libya. And there must be a different efforts coming from the Libyan brothers in terms of trying to unify again their country. This is one thing. Other thing is they are visiting Egypt. What does Egypt mean for Libya? Here comes the other point of significance to this visit. Egypt means simply solutions. Egypt means for Libya simply also support. Yes. Egypt means for Libya yes. The popular backup for yes. Libyans. Yes. Egypt means for Libya a border of more than 1,170 kilometers of joint border geographically. Yes. Egypt means for Libya the Eastern Gates. Egypt means lessons that Egypt managed to go through in the past years successfully concerning development, different aspects of development in Egypt recently, which should be, of course could be and should be, a minaret for our brothers in Libya to build on. And Egypt, as President Sisi has stated many times indeed, the latest is what he said during the meeting with the Libyan Prime Minister Dbeibah, yeah. When he stated Egyptian readiness to fully support the sincere will of our Libyan brothers to go through the crisis in Libya. That's why I look into this visit as a take-off point, not only for the recent coming future in Libya, but also to build on for the coming probably 10 or 20 years.
10 years?
Yes,
20
indeed,
years.
indeed.
Could you please elaborate on this point, please?
Yes.
So the two-day visit
yes, indeed.
that took place here in yes. Cairo would give us a plan for the coming 10 years.
We should work
yes,
on
please.
that. We should work on that seriously in both countries, Egypt and Libya.
What do we expect in the coming
yes.
10 years? Very soon in December, Libya is going to witness
the elections. The election.
So
hopefully, and we all pray to our Almighty God that the election in December will be held in its timing and will be also successful and fully controlled, and also will lead to what we all hope for is which is more stability in the Libyan region.
The role that Egypt is playing in the stability of Libya during or after the
before and
elections.
During and even after the election in December. Egypt has always been there supporting, and what is unique about the Egyptian role in Libya is Egypt is not seeking Egyptian interests. Yes, of course, every country which is normal seeking their own interest. But Egypt, when
seeking
we say
the stability of the surrounding
we seek
countries.
Also at the very same time the interest and stability of the Libyan region. simply because we cannot work individually in this region. We are two brother countries. We have a long history of cooperation, and for many people probably they don't know that even the ethnicity structure between Egyptian people and Libyans, we have a lot of tribes commonly living in both countries. Like the tribe Ben Ali, which is several millions of inhabitants. They are divided between Egypt and Libya.
Yes.
So we talk about joint blood, we talk about joint destiny, we talk about joint geography and joint also challenges. And that gives this meeting, this recent meeting, even more depth when it comes to, as we said, building for the future. Why I say 10 or 20 years to come? Simply because the crisis that the Libyans are going through since the toppling of late Muammar Ghazawy, leader in Libya, has caused a lot of damage to both infrastructure in Libya and even to the structure of humanity there as well.
Yes.
The division between the Libyan people themselves, and also opening the gate for international intervention and seeking support from some regional powers which might not have this pure interest to support Libyans purely, without jeopardizing the Libyan interests. And of course we know that there some regional powers are playing hard to maintain increasing presence and influence in Libya, like Turkey and other countries, which is of course against the legitimate ambitions of Libyans themselves to build their own country and to change and shape their own future in a way that support only the Libyans' interests, not any other powers in the region.
Yes.
Here comes the significance of this visit. We talk about Libyan geography and talking about Libyan economy. So we talk about at least 10 years of strenuous work to rebuild infrastructure there, rebuild economy, making development.
Yes, during the meeting, the joint committee meetings approved the implementation of a number of road, bridges, and infrastructure projects in Libya, of course. So how can Libya benefit from Egypt's experience in the field of construction, as Egypt has recently, since President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi came to office 7 years ago, Egypt is implementing a large number of projects, and the infrastructure have really witnessed a leap during this.
Exactly. Well, this is one of the I would say offsprings of that visit.
Yes.
Is to make the learned lessons and positive expertise of Egyptians available for our Libyan brothers in that respect. Yes, you mentioned the mega project, national project that are still underway, and construction is going vigorously and strenuously in Egypt. And whoever goes today to different spots in Egypt, whether in the capital, in Cairo, or big cities, or even in the desert,
Yes.
will witness a lot of construction process targeting infrastructure. And we have gone a long way in that respect. And we also have managed to achieve a lot of successes that the whole world is talking about. I'm quite sure that this expertise will be very much availed to the Libyan brothers to make use of. We talk about Egyptian firms and Egyptian entities that are capable today of managing and constructing these projects from A to Z. So we talk about contractors, we talk about constructors, we talk about mega firms and mega projects in Egypt that is totally managed and established and constructed and maintained
Yes.
by Egyptian professionals, which is today an asset for Libya, I have to say.
Yes.
Simply because Egypt, when we serve in Libya, we put in our eyes and in our hearts at the very same time the interests of our Libyan brothers. It's not like some other powers that doing or going to Libya just to fulfill some narrow interests. No, for us it's a vast area of ambitions, both for our Egyptian side of the story and the Libyan side, both together. We look into the issue of Libya as a part of Egypt, as apart from Egypt.
Yes.
We look at the geography of Libya as part of Egyptian geography. The national security sensation of Egypt is covering definitely 100% of the Libyan geography. So when we talk about, and I have to remind our distinguished viewers that Egypt has always, from the first moment of some foreign presence in Libya, like Turkish presence and troops or mercenaries or armed groups, foreign armed groups in Libya, Egypt has always been rejecting that, knowing that this is not definitely not going to lead to any interest of the Libyan people, to the sovereignty of Libyan land, to the independence of Libyan land. Of course, it goes against stability in the Libyan region.
Yes.
The thing that our Libyan brothers recognize today by heart.
Yes.
And of course, now we have the same stance when it comes to foreign interference in Libya, that all foreign troops should be leaving outside of Libya.
Yes.
And Libya should be only for Libyans. And Libyans who are the only people capable of deciding their own future and their plans and elaborate plans to change their realities. And they have a lot of challenges. We are not talking only about the reconstruction process or economy. We
Yes.
talk about security.
Yes.
We talk about sovereignty of the Libyan land. So we talk about a lot of work when it comes to re-establishing full control over the Libyan land again by the sovereign circles of Libya, when it comes to security, when it comes to the army, when it comes to judiciary, when it comes to intelligence. So there is a lot of work that should be done. And
Yes.
in that process, Egypt comes as a big supporter for the Libyan interests, as also a sincere supporter and assistant giving to the Libyan brothers. As I said at the beginning, we look into the Libyan issues as Egyptians.
Yes.
It's not two countries, I would say it's one interest. So when
Yes.
we're seeking any interest of Libya in Egypt, even President Sisi declared this several times, and Prime Minister and all Egyptian officials, and several times they reiterated that fact.
Yes.
When we seek the interest of Libya, we seek at the very same time the interest of Egypt.
Yes.
It means also opening the way for Egyptian workers to go back to Libya and to work safely. Both countries need this. Libya,
So the job opportunities.
of course, opportunities, and endless opportunities, millions of
And
opportunities.
Egyptians working in Libya, it's a history, of
It's,
course, because
it's long history of Egyptians.
many of the
working in
Egyptians were
Libya.
working.
And
about 2
and
million
yes.
Egyptians were working
Yes,
in Libya.
exactly.
Actually.
And I have to say that this has always been clean employment.
Yes.
What I mean by clean employment, the Egyptian workers are just sincere workers.
Yes.
They don't have political agendas like some other workers working in different or foreign countries. Egyptians usually, we remember that it happens in the Gulf states, it happened in Iraq, it happens in
Several
Libya even
examples.
before.
Yes.
So Egyptian workers going
Are
from
hard workers.
are hard workers, sincere workers, and they are not polarized. They work hard for supporting the nation they are working in. And I think Libyans know by heart this today. They know the difference between different nations when they open their door to foreigners, who is to come and who has to. That's why we are not feeling so strange when we see all Libyan different voices, different figures, responsible figures in Libya today. They are all calling for foreign presidents to get out,
Yes.
because they know that
Yes.
it was a mistake from the ex-government to
Yeah.
allow this to happen.
Dr. Ghazawy, the Egyptian-Libyan ties have developed during the past few years. How could you tell us about this? What could you tell us about
Well,
this?
it goes. I always ambitious to reach even deeper and larger level of cooperation, simply because Libya and Egypt was unified. Even if we didn't want that, it was unified geographically, naturally, and historically. We face the same challenges. The ethnicities, the structure of humanity in both countries are more or less the same. We don't have this big difference when it comes to the ethnicity structure between Egyptians and Libyans. And when you talk about history, yes, we have long history of joint concerns, joint ambitions, joint activities and endeavors to protect our countries. Libya has gained its independence in 1951, and through that until today, Libya has gone through a lot of problems. Of course, the problems tempo has increased diametrically after the toppling of Muammar al-Gaddafi, and Libya has gone into a crisis, a lot of problems, and they're still suffering so far.
Yes.
And I believe that now, as we are approaching the election in December, and also we see most of the Libyans today more agreeing on the joint goals and of Libyan national interest.
Yeah.
We hope that in the coming months there must be an opening for this crisis, a solution to be fulfilled, and the sincere wills of Egypt be translated into practical agreements and practical activities. And I think that Egypt is very much ready today to do this,
Yes.
to interpret this historical
Yes,
relations.
actually,
Yes.
Dr. Ghazawy, Egypt and Libya has always been two brotherly countries, and
True.
the ties between them is historical, of course.
True,
I
true.
thank you so much for joining us today in the breakfast show. Thank you for coming,
Thank
and
you.
thank you for your valuable information. Dr. Ibrahim Al-Ghazawy, Professor of International Relations, thank you very much for
Thank
joining
you
us.
so much. Thank you.
Well, I thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for following me in this segment as we discuss the Egyptian-Libyan relations. My name is Amal Mukhtar. I leave you with the rest of the segments of the breakfast show with my colleague Nermeen Abdurrahman.